Hey everyone, time for another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialists. So here we are, it is Wednesday. As you can see, those of you that follow the channel regularly, we move some things around a little bit. So this bus here, the 64 Turquoise, is going over to Roth Vintage tomorrow, over to Brian's shop. The name is also Brian. And he's going to put in the Bitchin 2110 dual carb motor that he built for it and plumb in the remote cooler and the remote oil filter and all that good stuff. So this bus will be gone as of tomorrow morning, and we'll probably get it back from him maybe like early to mid next week. He can probably knock it out pretty quick, but yeah, so this bus will be gone for a few days. So we put it in a convenient place to remove it from the shop in the morning. And we're starting in pretty strong on the blue buggy now. Rafa actually worked pretty much all day on it. And so we put it in a better spot to have it sitting. As you can see, it's up on jack stands now. The wheels are off it and stuff. So we needed to put it in a spot where it can sit and be immobile for a while, and so this is the spot. So this is where it will be living next to its brother here for a little while, and I love the way these two look next to each other. Freaking killer. So much sparkliness going on here between these two. It's amazing. So yeah, let's see what Rafa did on this one. So he went ahead and he pulled the rear brakes apart because this car, the donor car that the driveline and stuff for this came from, it didn't have e-brakes on it. And so we bought all the components to put e-brakes, both the levers and stuff that go inside there and all that stuff. So Rafa went ahead and pulled the drums off to do that, and he found a whole bunch of no good stuff in there. So we went ahead and pulled it apart the rest of the way, and whoever put this together, they had the seals in totally wrong for the axle seals here that go on the ends. That was all wrong. The wheel cylinders were in very poor condition. This one, at least one of the boots on it was like a third missing and just looked very old, and the boots looked very dried out. And then there were some springs in the brake hardware that had come off at some point and dug into one of the brake shoes. And so these things were pretty much just a huge mess, actually. So Rafa went ahead and pulled all that apart. We're going to have new wheel cylinders coming. Wolfsburg West was out, so I need to try and source those somewhere else. But yeah, wheel cylinders, and we'll put on new shoes. We're actually replacing the drums too, because Rafa was mentioning that on these drums here, the splines felt very wore out. They were very kind of wobbly on the axles. And so, yeah, that's not really good. Those need to fit kind of a nice snug fit. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and put new drums on it. This is going to be a super nice car, so we don't want anything half-assed on here, but again, we didn't build any of this stuff here, so we're kind of gonna go through everything like we did here and make sure that everything is good and safe, especially with respect to the brakes. So I don't know if Rafa checked the front brakes yet or not, but we'll do that too, just in case they're as problematic as the rear ones were. So yeah, that's mostly what he did today. I picked up the custom-made e-brake cables today from a company that we use locally that makes those, called BC Wire Rope. And yeah, so there's probably a couple other little odds and ends that he did, but yeah, mainly working on the rear brakes and the rear axles and stuff like that on it today. So yeah, there you go. And then again, we spent some time this morning playing musical cars, moving these cars around. So this bus was sitting here, and that bus was sitting where this one is, and so on. So yeah, anyway, so for my part, what I did was, let me go around the back here. So I think I mentioned on yesterday's video these carburetors on this car were just full of garbage, and I don't really understand how. I mentioned that yesterday because there was a filter on this car right after the gas tank, but somehow, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, the line shouldn't have had that much garbage in them, but apparently they did. So these carburetors were a mess. So I pulled them all apart and cleaned them and used carburetor cleaner, cleaned out the jets. The needle and seat valves on both of these actually was stuck closed, and the accelerator pump jets or accelerator pump tubes or something in the accelerator pump circuits were pretty much like clogged on them. So I spent quite a bit of time going through those, getting them all working properly. So they seem to work great now, and started up several times, fires right up, seems to run good. I still need to take it for a drive and make sure that that it actually runs good. There's a difference between sitting and kind of revving the motor, sitting still, versus actually driving it. So I need to confirm that it's running as well as I think it is, putting some road miles on it. But anyway, so that was pretty much my morning, was going through those and putting them back together. And then I got back on the one-piece windows, and let's talk about the driver's side first. So the driver's side, I had almost finished with the sort of like internal parts of it. So the only thing left to do was to actually add the window, the lift channel to the window itself. And so got that lined up and stuff like that, marked it, pulled the window out, and then glued the weather strip and the lift channel to the bottom of the window. So it's all good now. So this door, the driver door, is essentially done now, except for adding the outer scraper and the inner felt. So it goes up and down beautifully, and should be good to go. So the passenger side, though, not quite as smooth sailing on this side, and it's not really the car's fault. It's Impy has struck again with some of their I guess quality control issues, for lack of a better word. So you can see these marks that I put here every so often. So those marks line up with the little slots that are a lot like these, but the ones on the outer door skin. So these are the ones, these slots, I'll show you here. So these slots, it's probably too dark to see them, but yeah, okay, there you go. So you can see. So I basically mark the centers of all these slots here. And the reason that I did that was when I was starting to work on preparing this scraper, I was kind of using the other side, which I had already made as a template, as far as, I think I mentioned before how I extend the metal strip here and stuff like that. So I was using the other side as a template because I had spent a lot of time, figuring that one out. And so basically they're just mirror images of each other, right? So let's walk over here and take a look. So here's the left one. That's an upside down L, which I had prepared previously. And here is the right one. And so what I found when I started kind of like mocking up the right one was that on this metal strip here, it's got these little rectangular slits in it. They were just not really quite in the right place as far as lining up with the slots on the inner part of the door there. So luckily I noticed that before I started punching holes in the scraper and stuff like that here. And the only reason really, again, that I noticed it was because I was kind of lining these two up, and again, to use the one I'd done already as a template. And I noticed that when I lined them up, that if you lined up, say, the back hole here, so this is the one towards the rear of the car, if you line that one up, then after you get about one or two down from there, they started being misaligned. And so I started comparing it to the actual door itself, and yeah, sure enough. So somehow Impy made one of these metal strips was fine as far as, the location of those slots, but the other one just wasn't. And so you can actually, if you look at the metal piece here, you can kind of see, so there's the original end of the opening right there on the right. And so you can probably kind of tell how far I had to stretch the hole in order for this this rivet or whatever you want to call this fastener here to line up with the, you can see the silver Sharpie mark here. So pretty much this one, which is number 7, so there's 7 from back to front. So pretty much 7 and 6 I had to stretch the hole out even more. 5 had to stretch it quite a ways, and I think I did a little bit maybe on this one. And then these ones were basically the first couple were basically okay, but then they started getting kind of progressively worse. So I don't really understand how one of these strips was fine but the other one wasn't. I mean, I guess maybe they have multiple machines that are stamping these things out or something, and the good one came off one machine and the bad one came off another machine. I can't really imagine the lack of, I don't know, quality control or something here. But I guess let this be a warning to anyone who's wanting to put these one-piece windows on their car using this MP kit, is don't assume that these holes or these slots, whatever you want to call them, are going to line up with their respective slots in the door. So check that first before you start, doing anything permanently, because you may have to go and actually stretch out the slots on this metal strip if you go to use this the way I'm using it, or even if you go to use it the way MP intended to use it with their unusable scrapers, you would still have the same issue. They just wouldn't line up. So anyway, that was very long-winded. Sorry about that, but yeah, that's what I had to do to make that work. So it's always something. But yeah, so hopefully tomorrow I can finish up the windows on this car, and then I think at that point it's about done, actually. I got to check with the owner to see if he wants me to take the time to put the door panels in, or if that's something he just wants to do himself. I don't remember mentioning that, but the last major thing, at least, is that I know of, is finishing up the windows and then taking it for a test drive, make sure it runs good. So this one will hopefully be done and back to its owner maybe later this week or early next week. Anyway, that is it for today, guys. Appreciate you all watching. Thanks for all the comments you guys all make and all the likes and support and stuff like that. Really means a lot to us here at Vintage Classic Specialist. So thanks again, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.